The Big Girl Feelings podcast contains explicit content that may be triggering for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Sex, consensual non-monogamy, toxic masculinity, boundary setting, fat phobia. These are just a few on a very long list of topics considered taboo and stigmatized by our society. But not anymore. Through genuine, honest, and often uncomfortable conversations, we're running away from societal norms and sprinting toward living our authentic truth. This is the podcast where anything goes. I'm your host, Ashley, and we're here to talk about our big girl feelings. Welcome. Brent, shut your whore mouth. Jesus Christ. Watch, this is going to suck now. It's going to be my fucking... I'm going to sound like shit this entire episode, all because of you.
Whose fault? Yeah.
Or Brent.
Brent? Yeah, I love... So, Brent... Okay.
Is this the show?
I think so. Welcome back to the Big Girl Feelings podcast.
What? I was expecting a lot of other people to join in on that.
If y'all didn't figure it out, that was Chris there with the what?
I'm just excited.
And of course we have my my sidekick Ashley.
Hello.
And Brent and Rebecca also here in the studio with us.
Hey.
We just kind of came in and just started shooting shit over the mics today instead of having our usual pre-podcast catch-up. So we're just going to do our catch-up here.
Yeah.
And catch you all up as well.
Because it's been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute. There's been lots going on. We just got back from a trip. We'll fill you guys in on that. Our topic for today is going to be about sex drive and duty sex.
You said duty.
I sure
That's
did.
definitely my wife, because I was totally about
Oh,
to make
yeah.
that joke.
Yeah, we were all thinking it. Haha, you said duty.
So what's new?
Oh, geez. Well, that's a loaded question. You know, life, the world is shit. I don't know, like, does anyone else just feel like things have been a little heavy lately? Just in general, just every day feels like a slog. Like, there's nothing particularly wrong, I guess. It's just like waking up, you know, you check your phone and, oh, yep, the world's still shit. Cool.
Yeah.
And just seems like everybody has bad news or is feeling kind of down, and the weather wasn't helping.
The weather's been brutal here lately.
Oh, it has been. We were really lucky, though, so I started back at work this week.
Okay, yeah, how's that going?
Really well.
Yay.
I'm really glad to be back with Gatheralls again this year, both Rebecca and I. And, yeah, it's been a fantastic start to the year. But speaking of weather, our first 3 days back were absolutely gorgeous. Like, we're working 3 days on, 3 days off now for this is our lower season, which actually has been really busy, but of course not as busy as, you know, July and August when the whales are in full swing. But, yeah, the weather was, you know, it was like 10, 12 degrees and sunny. Still a little chilly out on the open Atlantic, but it was a good start to the year.
It was only like 5 degrees today. It was absolutely freezing. And I've already switched to my spring jean jacket, and I'm not switching back.
No, fuck that. That's a lot of work, bitch. That's a lot of work.
May 2/4 happened, so...
Yep. That's it. I don't care if we have a snowstorm now. It's hoodies for me for the rest of the season. Yeah, so we're back to work. Like I said, back with Gatheralls again. Rebecca and I are in full wedding mode. We just sent out our invitations yesterday. Ashley still hasn't even seen it because she just came home from work and hasn't opened her messenger yet. We did digital invitations for the most part. We printed off like 50-ish copies just to give out to like people I knew would appreciate it as a keepsake, and old people like yourself,
Yes.
Ash. Ashley's like, yeah, in this scenario, I am an old person.
Yes, please.
Gotta have a physical copy. So yeah, that's been really fun. Of course, we're having it at Gatheralls. So they've been wonderful in letting us have it there. It's really special to us to be able to do that. You know, it's a big part of our lives, and they've become basically family to us. And it just seems like the perfect place to do it. So
That's awesome, because I kind of remember you having trouble with venues and such.
absolutely, yeah,
when.
we did have some issues with our first venue. They did eventually say they would allow us to have the event here, there, but no, we're much happier to have it at Gatheralls.
Place that's
you know.
meaningful to you
Absolutely,
as well. Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
And they have a private beach there.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so we're going to have the ceremony on the beach at like 5:30 in the evening. Yeah, weather permitting, of course. We've been, September's kind of notorious here for being a really nice month. So I'm hoping that the weather is going to work out, but we'll see. And if not, they've got a beautiful building upstairs overlooking the ocean. So either way, I'm sure it'll be beautiful. And other than that, Rebecca, Brent, Kate, and I just came back from a trip. We were in the Dominican. It did not go well.
Oh, no.
I won't say it didn't go well. Parts of the trip were great. So we flew to Toronto first and stayed there for a couple nights. We actually went back to Oasis, and that's going to tie into our topic today. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we flew to Dominican, and in true Ashley fashion, we're standing in the airport ready to get on our shuttle to the resort. And I hear, "What the actual fuck?" from behind me. And I turn around, and it's my friend Tonya, who I haven't seen in like 5 years. We worked together at East Coast for years and years. And she lives in Samana, in Las Terrenas, in the Dominican part of the year. And she has like a dog rescue organization, nonprofit, where she feeds all the stray dogs in that part of the Dominican. It's really cool. And yeah, so we ran to each other and gave each other a hug. And Tonia's a very I would call her maybe like spiritual and just really believes in like serendipity and that kind of thing. So it wasn't surprising that her and I, of all people, found each other there.
Of course, yes.
And then she was like, "I'm coming to get you tomorrow. I'm taking you off resort." And she did, and we had an amazing time. She took us to see Carnival, which is like a massive parade that happens in the Dominican. It's a very Christian-based country. And Carnival is basically the start of Lent or the end of Lent. I can't remember, shockingly. I think
it's more towards the end of Lent.
I want to say you're right. I'll clarify on that. I'll look it up and clarify. But so it was this major parade where they had these like absolutely incredible, elaborate costumes. And, if you know anything about the Dominican, it is a pretty poor country. So for them to be able to pull off something like this, it obviously has to be very important to them. They shut down. Everything shuts down, and it's just thousands of people out in the street, a lot of locals, some tourists, but mostly locals. So that was incredible. Rebecca just looked it up, and it is before Lent. It starts Lent. I knew it had some significance to Lent. Anyway, so we did that. Had the best cider I've ever had in my life. It was so freaking good. You can just buy it in bottles at the convenience store. It's a weird place. Like, weird in the sense that it's just very different from here. There's not a lot of laws, it is a third world country. There's not a lot of money, so people make do with what they have. A lot of like babies on the front of mopeds and like just really strange, people drinking while they're driving and like nobody cares. It's just it's a
very
like
different.
a very different world there. Anyway, we went to this beachfront resort, like a restaurant, and placed our order and then went and got in the ocean swimming at dusk, and it was just incredible. But I ended up getting food poisoning because of course I did. So I think it happened off the resort. I think it happened like when I had dinner at the beach restaurant. I think I had some like raw veggies, and of course their water is really hard on our stomachs. I did have a vaccine before I went, but I still ended up getting sick. I was the only one out of our group that got sick, and I was out of commission for 2 full days.
Oh.
Yeah, and then the third day I still just didn't have a lot of energy. So the whole point of our trip was to go see, and I may have mentioned this before we left, but it was to go see the whales. So
yes.
Rebecca and I work for Gatheralls. We see humpbacks in the summer, and then those humpbacks leave and they go to the Silverbank, which is off the coast of the Dominican Republic. So when we decided we were going to go on an all-inclusive, we checked it out to see if there were like could you go see the whales? Was there some sort of tour boat that operated down there in the sanctuary? Turns out there's tons of them. So we had booked that, and of course it was on the day that I got sick.
No.
Yeah, so we missed the tour. So just an excuse to go back. Luckily, we were in a bungalow. We had like a private concierge, so he was really helpful with like making sure. He even brought me some liquid IV at one point to make sure I didn't get too dehydrated. So that sucked. And then the last day we were there, I was in the pool and I was finally coming around, and we had gotten one of those like poolside day beds.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a gorgeous day. I was feeling a lot better. Was floating around listening to my audiobook, and I went back to check my phone, and I had a message from the dog sitter, and she was like, can you like FaceTime me immediately? It's an emergency. And I was like, okay, shit, something's wrong with one of the dogs, or one of the dogs is...
I'd rather you tell me my house is on fire. Oh, fuck. What?
She was calling to tell me that my kitchen was on fire.
Oh my God.
Swear to fucking God, man. Swear to fucking God. So
we did not know
This is not
before
scripted.
this recording.
Oh my fucking God.
yeah, we were doing, like I said,
At least it wasn't the dogs, question mark?
Oh, no, it was.
Oh, Lord.
No, guys, we are not punking you. We did not have this. We purposely
no.
waited to have this discussion during the podcast. So Chris or Ashley had no idea. So, yeah. So what had happened was she had taken some dog treats, like a box of greenies, and laid them on the stove.
No.
And then a box of cat food. And was trying to, keep it away from the dogs.
No.
But what ended up happening was Willie...
Yeah.
who is a fat ass for anybody who's never seen pictures
and
of my
he'll
dogs. Jumped up, tried to claw down the box of greenies,
turned the burner on.
Turned the burner on, and it caught on fire.
I can see it all playing out in my mind's eye.
And so our dog sitter, she's like, I was sitting in my car about to leave to drive to Holyrood. And like,
shit.
It's crazy because if she hadn't like...
Yeah.
If she had left anyways, like, I don't even want to think about it because it's just crazy to think we just might not have anything, not have any stuff, not have any animals, etc. But we don't want to go down that road. So she heard this like faint noise that she thought sounded like an alarm, and she's like, okay, it has to be coming from like down the street or something. She's like, oh, I better go check just to see.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes up to the door and can hear now that it's coming from the house. So she runs in. The whole house is filled with smoke.
Oh my God.
So she goes upstairs. We have like a split entry house. She goes upstairs, and the box of greenies is torn open on the dog bed. And the two fucking dogs are just sitting on the couch, not a care in the world. The kitchen's on fire. Our stove and microwave.
Isn't there a meme like everything is fine?
Everything's fine, and it's a dog
dog
sitting in fucking flames. Yeah, that's
your
literally
idiot
our
dogs.
fucking
I
dogs.
say
Oh
that
my
with
God.
love.
Oh, 100. Willie is an ab. Well, they're neither one of them. They're sharing a brain cell most days. Let's just say that. So she has to like corral the dogs to get them outside. And in the meantime, the cans of cat food are exploding under pressure.
Oh my God.
So she has enough sense to put on the oven mitts and picks up the box of cat food and just slings it into the backyard. She saved our house. She saved our pets. Broke her finger in the process. Like,
oh my God.
just an absolute sin. But anyway, everybody's okay. We now have a new stove. No major damage. And like I said, stuff can be replaced, but people and animals can't. So we're very grateful. So it's been a lot.
Holy shit.
Just a really weird...
I thought I was making a joke.
Oh, man, you were. It was a funny joke.
Chris is so pale right now.
I almost feel bad. I feel like it's somehow my fault.
Chris, I almost
shook.
feel bad.
I don't, but
I know you don't. I know.
Oh my God.
I would judge you if you
Boys.
felt
Feeling
bad.
bad.
Yeah, but you know what? That means a lot coming from you.
well, it's the thought that counts.
Exactly. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's crazy. I feel like I just like that's wild.
Isn't it wild? Like,
I'm
you-
like my
my
jaw's still on the
God.
floor. Like
I
don't
know.
know how to talk now about it.
I didn't even know what to say when you said that either, because it's so funny that was...
Feel the daggers of eyes coming across the studio at me. Like, not negatively. I can just be like, brother, you have no idea.
Oh, it's
Vibes.
so funny.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm shooketh.
So that was our trip, and then we also had.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was our trip. Our
So
house
that's what you
nearly
had to come
burned down, and
and
Ashley
come
threw
home
up a
to.
lot.
Oh
Like,
my
that was our trip.
God.
Oh, dude, it was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. Like, it was brutal. I was so grateful that we had really good air conditioning, and we also, because we had booked the bungalow, had our own private pool. Like, it wasn't a very big pool. It's probably the size of this room. But, like, for us, it was...
So huge.
Like...
We have a huge studio here.
Yeah, massive studio.
Yeah, like... but, like...
No, yeah, I get what
for
you're
a
saying.
pool, like, you could
Yes,
fit, like...
yes.
maybe 4 or 5 people in it
Yeah, that's
comfortably,
all you
right?
need if you're, like,
and it was
it's
perfect.
private, yeah.
You know, that was perfect for a little backyard kind of thing. It was really nice. And then that way I could still, if I needed to go
Yeah.
cool down or jump in the water, I could, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that morning, we went paddle boarding, and the morning I got sick, we went boogie boarding. That's the one. We went boogie boarding, and I at one point swallowed a huge mouthful of salt water,
Oh.
and I was like, oh man, that's really like doesn't feel good, and I was already feeling a bit queasy. I was like, okay, yeah, no, we got to go back to the room, and that's what like triggered it finally.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so we went to Toronto again on the way back, and that kind of sucked, having another stopover in Toronto and having to wait like a full day before we could get home to the boys and stuff. But on the way to Dominican, like I said, we stayed in Toronto for a couple nights, and we actually went back to Oasis for a third time. And that kind of leads into our topic for today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about duty sex and just sex drive in general, really, and they kind of tie into each other, obviously. And first of all, let's sort of dive into what duty sex is or means. Now, I think it'll be interesting if Ashley, give me what you think your definition of duty sex is.
Like, it's your duty to have sex with your partner. Like, if you're married or whatever else, like, you owe it to the other person to do it.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think Ashley kind of hit the nail on the head. It's I guess the sense of obligation that comes with, sex in a, I would say maybe more of a long-term relationship as opposed to something more short-term. I think that might be fair to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think those are very good descriptors, of what we're talking about. And of course, you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, and there's a lot more to it than that and a lot of context. But at its very core, yes, it's that feeling of obligation to your significant other under any circumstance to have sex with them. And so this has been kind of on my mind for a while for a bunch of different reasons. And this is probably going to end up being a 2-part episode, as is the norm lately. So I guess I'll start with talking about our experience at Oasis and sort of go from there. So we went to Oasis, and this time Kate went with us. And we had an amazing time. We got in the pool. We had a couple drinks. It was lovely. We relaxed for a couple of hours. And this particular night, I did not want to stay at Oasis. I wanted to go back to my hotel room and relax and go to sleep. I was exhausted, and I love it there. It's you guys know how I feel about it. I've talked about it on the podcast a lot. It's one of my favorite places on the planet. I love it there. But this particular night, I just was... like I said, I was just tired. We were traveling, and I've had some stuff going on, and I just wasn't feeling it. And I spent the entire day feeling kind of anxious about that, because it's a place we don't get to go very often. It's in a different province. It's not like you can go there every weekend. And
There's an expectation almost.
exactly. And we had this planned, and I knew that Brent and Rebecca were excited. And I just want to preface this with Brent and Rebecca are two of the most understanding, compassionate partners I could ever ask for. And any pressure that I was feeling that day
Was
or night
self-imposed.
was self-imposed.
Yeah.
I would say, and I think this kind of came up with the body image stuff too, it was self-imposed, but also I do think there are external factors to that pressure that are not necessarily from your partners directly, but from society and the world and social media and TV show, pop culture, TV shows, movies. I think that there's a lot of external pressure that comes with just the world we live in. Even though, yes, a lot of it was self-inflicted and it didn't come from my partners, I do think there are other external factors at work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we'll dive into, right? So I waited and waited and waited and put it off. And I finally said to Brent and Rebecca, like,
I'm not feeling it.
I'm not feeling it. And they were so, like, understanding. And, you know, I'm sure on some level they were disappointed. And, like, I was disappointed too, because it's not that I didn't want to go. I just genuinely wasn't up to it. But me, as someone who is very outspoken, very honest, has great communication with my partners, I'm generally a very sexual person. I don't have any trouble asking for what I want or need in any given situation. But I was feeling that kind of pressure. So I can't even imagine what just your average, like, person feels on a regular day about that kind of stuff, you know? Anyway, long story short about Oasis is Brent and Rebecca ended up staying. They had an amazing night. They went upstairs and did their thing. Kate and I went back to the hotel, ordered some food. I read my book for a bit, and then we went to sleep, and it was perfect. And afterwards, I was thinking, like, why was that so hard for me with that? Like, I don't owe that to anybody. Like, I can do what I want. I don't have to go, especially in that kind of scenario where there's already extra pressures that you're facing just by being in a public place and being around a bunch of other people.
Just walking through the doors.
Just walking through the doors. Honestly, though,
I
Chris, that's so true. And, like,
maybe you were just hoping that, like, once you were there, you would start getting in the mood, if you will.
Absolutely, that is,
right?
you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
So true.
And the mood doesn't turn, and you're like, well, fuck.
And that's something that I've been feeling in my everyday life lately with sex. So just as a little bit of context, I guess. So I have been, and I know I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I have had some sexual trauma in the past. And I have gone to therapy, and I've, you know, dealt with that and been dealing with the outfall of that for a long time. But it was recently, through kind of unforeseen circumstances, brought to the surface again. And I don't want to get into the details of it right now because, you know.
It's not necessary,
no,
but that shit rears its head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it did. It reared its head recently.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. And it was very much at the forefront of my mind again. And that kind of takes a toll on your sex drive. Yeah. You know? So, like, even somebody like me who's always has been a very sexual person. Brent and I have been together almost 15 years. We've always had kind of a pretty vibrant sex life. It has ebbs and flows like everything, you know? Like, sure. Everyone's sex life has ebbs and flows. No matter who you are, that kind of wanes off over time, and you know, you're going to have weeks or months or years even for some people, I imagine, where you're either having sex a lot or you're not having sex at all for different reasons, for different, you know, life gets in the way or whatever.
Yeah, I think that, you know, like everything in life has its ebbs and flows, and when something else, you know, when something else is flowing, your sex life might ebb a little bit. If, you know, work's really busy for everybody and you get home at the end of the day and you're tired even, or, you know, there's other external factors going on or other things, stressors in your life, anything, you know, a ton of things affect sex drive overall. And yeah, so there's definitely a lot of factors at play there.
Agreed. And like I said, Brent and Rebecca both. Of course, I have had a sexual relationship for much longer time with Brent than I have with Rebecca. So we've been together, like I said, almost 15 years, and Rebecca and Brent and I have been together for just over 2 years. And even in that 2 years, you know, we've had ebbs and flows. When Rebecca first came into the picture, you know, and a new partner is very exciting. And let me tell you, a threesome never gets boring, you know, but like we do have ebbs and flows because we're all very busy people. We have busy lives. We have now you've got 2 women in a relationship where 2 people are PMSing and having a period every month. So that's a great time.
Sorry, Brent.
You're a good friend. But it happens, right? And so I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself because I have this persona of being this very sexual, very open, very...
Goddess.
Thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
got you.
I love my friends. Like,
I'll pump your tires.
super quick. Hey, I used that saying today too.
Hey, bye.
I just have the best guy friends. Like, I have the best girlfriends too, but I have just this, like, circle of super, like, smart, respectful, like, handsome dudes around me all the time. And I just feel so lucky and blessed. Like, honestly, I'm not trying to pump your tires, But, like, I do. Anyways, I have the best guy friends. I just had to shout out to all the boys. To all the boys I loved before. Oh, man. The sillies are kicking in.
Those are the best.
Yeah. So anyways, I've just been
Cultivating this goddess thing.
I've been cultivating this goddess thing, yes. I'm using that. I like that.
Yeah, I got you.
So, I have for a long time, and when I say a long time, I mean probably a couple of years now, have been putting this pressure on myself, like, constantly, more than I was even willing to admit before, to be that persona, be that goddess all the time. And I've started to realize that, like, I don't owe that to anybody, and I don't owe it to Brent and Rebecca. I don't owe that to my friends or anyone. I want to educate people, and I want to enlighten people, and I want people to be their freaky selves, and I want to help bring that out in people. But that doesn't mean that I have to have my sex drive on 110%, 24/7.
It doesn't have to be your whole personality, right? Like, it doesn't have to be the only thing that defines someone.
Exactly. And it's not even that I was letting it define me, but I was afraid that if I was like, well, my sex drive just isn't quite there right now, then that said something about me, or that, like, took away value of who I am as a person and as a podcaster and as a partner and
right.
But that's not true, right?
No, not at all.
So that's been on my mind. And like I said, Brent has always been, like, incredibly supportive if that's ever been a thing, if I've ever had, and everyone knows I struggle with my mental health, for example. So if at any point that became an issue, Brent was always very understanding of that, and Rebecca, same thing. I won't say hasn't really been an issue for us, but for the past probably couple of months, and I think I either mentioned this to you, like, privately, or we talked about it on the podcast at some point, that we have a system where, like, if I'm not feeling up to having sex one night, then Brent and Rebecca go down to we have, like, a little
sex room.
Yeah. Well, to be fair,
designated sex room. Yes.
To be fair, the actual designated sex room still isn't finished, but we have, like, a little library it has a spare bed, and then we've, like, done it up with all of our books and stuff. It looks really cute. Maybe I'll post some pictures on the podcast page to give people some inspiration. But yeah, they pop down, and it's great, right? Like, it works for us, and we've that's become. I think when we talked about that first, it had only happened, like, maybe a couple times. And now we're at the point where these past couple months, it's been happening more regularly. It's probably happened, I don't know, 4 or 5 times in the past couple months. If I'm not in the mood, well, And I think, honestly, Brent and Rebecca might struggle with it a little bit more than I do, even. Because, like, I'm like, yeah, guys, I'm just exhausted. Like, I just want to go in my book. I just want to listen to my fantasy book and go to sleep. Like, and they're, like, fussing, and it's really cute. But, like, it works for us. And it takes away that, like,
pressure
that I know it's self-inflicted, but even someone like me who, is like, smash the patriarchy and we don't owe men anything, I still inherently have that
You were still
pressure.
raised under patriarchy.
Exactly. And this is part of the reason why I want to have this discussion with you, because you have such insightful thoughts about those types of topics all the time.
Thank you.
Like, I can't articulate that kind of stuff the way that you can. I truly just can't, right? And so this article popped up, and I think I sent it to you, Ashley.
Okay.
That was literally about duty sex. And so it had the definition of duty sex, and it talked about how through the centuries, like, I mean, it's a crazy, crazy stat. We didn't, like, women in Canada, you could rape your wife legally in Canada. When do you think that became illegal?
God.
To rape your wife. When do you think that became illegal?
I have no context with which to answer this question, but just the way you're presenting the question to me, 1960.
Oof.
You know the answer, Ashley?
I don't, but I know it's probably 80s or 90s.
Good Lord.
1993.
Yeah.
What?
Marital rape was legal.
Marital rape became illegal in 1993. So I was 9 years old
Yeah.
when it became illegal for a man to rape his wife. Like, I'm sorry, I know I'm saying that over and over, but I really just need that stat to stick into your head. That's how women were viewed. That's how society viewed women. That's how the government viewed women up until...
Well, I'll put it to you this way. If memory serves correctly, I believe that is the same year that Jurassic Park came out. So, yeah, the year that Jurassic Park came out, the year before Jurassic... Right,
1993.
1993. The
That's
year
copywritten.
the
Be
year
careful.
before Jurassic Park came out, it was legal to rape your wife. So, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a wild stat. And we're gonna, like I said, make this a two-parter, and we'll probably clue up here now, and clue up part one in a couple of minutes, and we're gonna have lots more to say about this topic next week. But I want everyone, all genders, to consider how many times have you ever felt pressure, whether that be directly from your partner, pressure that you put on yourself, or pressure that you felt came from an external source like society or pop culture or social media? Have you ever felt pressured to have sex with somebody? And how did that make you feel? Where did that pressure come from? And I want to hear about it, because I have plenty of examples, but I really, really want to hear real life stories of instances where that happened. Because I talked to one friend a couple of weeks ago about this, and she basically said that she would lie in bed while she had sex with her husband and think about what she had to do the next day, and like how much time this was taking up and how much sleep she was missing. Mm-hmm. And I just, like, I know we've all been in that position. Everybody has. But I do think that the pressure is more on women in that scenario. And I just want to unpack that and talk about it and maybe give a little bit of advice on how to navigate that in a relationship, because that's a really tough position to be in. So I'm looking forward to having a really good conversation next week about that. Ashley and I are going to do some further research. We already have a bunch of stats that we're going to share with you guys. I have that article saved from, I think it was from maybe the National, something like that.
We'll post it.
Absolutely, we'll post the link. And yeah, I just want to have some uncomfortable conversations about that, because I think it's a topic that doesn't get discussed enough. I think it's a bigger issue than we even realize in relationships. And I think unpacking that and talking about it and finding ways to navigate that conversation with your partner or partners is going to ultimately make your relationship stronger and your sex life better, truly. Because if you're resentful to your partner because you're feeling pressured, not necessarily even from them, but if you're feeling pressure and you're not dealing with that pressure and where that pressure's coming from, you're going to end up resenting your partner because of that. And that's when things get dicey, right? So I'm looking forward to chatting more about that next week.
How can people send in their stories or questions that they may have to you?
So, as always, you guys can hit us up on Instagram at Big Girl Feelings. I'm going to post an anonymous box where you can post your questions or your stories. You can Facebook message me, text me, email Ashley at biggirlfeelings.com.
Yes, or you can also the website is a feedback form as well, so you can submit feedback through biggirlfeelings.com to us as well.
Yes, head over to biggirlfeelings.com, and there is that box is completely anonymous. But I really, on this particular topic, would love to get some insight from both sides of the coin as well. I'd love to hear from, like I said, all genders about this. No matter which side you're on, whether you feel like you've ever put pressure on someone and then realized in retrospect that was the case, or if you felt pressure, I really want to hear about it. And yeah, we're going to dig into this more next week, and look forward to hearing your questions and comments on this, hearing your stories. And as always, if you have any feedback for us, topic suggestions, reach out to us, and we're always looking for more things to say and more uncomfortable conversations to have. So we'll leave it on that for tonight, and looking forward to getting back next week and having a super uncomfortable conversation about duty sex. I said duty again.
Thank you for listening to the Big Girl Feelings podcast, a Right Good Studios production. Cover art by Jerry Stamp. Follow us on social media. You can find us at Big Girl Feelings on Instagram and Facebook. Our website is biggirlfeelings.com. Do you have questions for us? Topic suggestions? Stories you'd like to share? Please email us at ashley@biggirlfeelings.com. Our podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. If you're enjoying the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
Get all your
Not
burps,
you.
Get all your burps and farts out now, and then we'll.
I don't think I can get all my farts out.